Welcome to the Writing with Purpose podcast, inspiring journalists, writers, readers and nature lovers to embrace creativity and nature connection for positive well-being. I'm your host, Anna Woolliscroft. Join me for honest conversations with people who use writing, journaling and time in nature to find clarity, process life's experiences and live a more fulfilling life. Whether you're a seasoned writer, a curious beginner, or simply someone seeking a deeper connection to life, this podcast is for you. It's wonderful to have you here today. What if stripping your life back to almost nothing was the thing that finally gave you the space to write? In this episode of the Writing with Purpose podcast, I'm joined by Mike Lever, author, adventurer and off-grid eccentric who has spent the last 30 years living in a lorry in North Wales. Mike writes from a life fully and unapologetically lived, using storytelling to process experiences and emotions that are too complex or too close to express any other way. Today, I'm joined by Mike Lever, author, pensioner, outdoor adventurer who lives totally off-grid with no modern conveniences in a static lorry in Porthmadog. So, Mike, you're originally from Birmingham. You've had a colourful career as a self-trained handyman, river cruise boat captain, company accountant and lab technician. You were homeless for 3 years, but now retired. And you've published 2 bizarre but true autobiographies and 3 gritty romance novels since 2021. Wow, Mike, I'm looking forward to chatting with you. Welcome to the Writing with Purpose
I'm looking
podcast.
forward to talking to you.
Excellent. So, Mike, we'll start off with a few quick fire questions, which is always a little bit of fun to ask people. So what was the last book you read, fiction or non-fiction, and why did you choose to read that?
A Sister's Dream by Elizabeth Gill. And basically, I only really read educated romantic fiction. And that book fits in quite well. Also, the lady Elizabeth Gill is in the local U3A. And she's dedicated the book to the U3A, Porthmadog U3A. I know her through a friend.
Yeah, lovely. So she's a local lady.
Yes, 15 mile away, mainly where she lives. And I don't know if you heard the name, but she is a main writer of the romantic. And she's one of these people who turn books out every 6 months.
Wow.
Good read. Got no problem.
Yeah.
A lot of men read romantic fiction secretly. I just do it openly.
That's probably a very good point there, Mike. I can imagine that. It's not a genre that I read that much, but my mum does read a lot. Maybe my dad does as well, but he's never told me about it.
Well, when I was into heavy mountaineering, when I was about 26, 27, I used to buy the Mountaineering magazine, and I used to slip a copy of True Romances in the Mountaineering magazine to walk out the shop. I mean, I paid for the magazine, but I'm going to walk out the shop carrying one. A mountaineering story, then a romance story, and a mountaineering story. So got it together. And then when I'm writing, that's basically how I write, a combined adventure and romance.
Good way of doing it, yeah, getting inspiration from both genres. Yeah. So what was your favourite book as a child, Mike? Because you went to boarding school, didn't you? So I'm curious as to whether books became an escape for you.
Well, as a child, we didn't really do books. I was born in the slums of Birmingham, and it wasn't really a reading area. I discovered Billy Bunter and the famous 5 books when I was about 12. The Billy Bunter books have passed me by, and they don't affect me whatsoever. But I think the famous 5 probably planted the seed of adventure. And yes, basically that's what I do. I go off from here and I don't have maps. And I just see where I end up.
Yeah, getting lost is part of the fun.
Yeah. In the mountaineering books, the expeditions go seriously well. I don't bother to write about them because they're just boring. It's things that go wrong that makes it far more interesting.
Yeah.
And sometimes they just climb the wrong mountain, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you there. I do a lot of hiking. Not, I wouldn't say mountaineering quite the same, but we went to the Isle of Arran earlier on this year and did the coastal route. And it wasn't very fun to get stuck in a boulder field by the beach for about an hour and a half and not knowing which way we were going.
Oh, right. Oh, boulder fields are a little bit tiresome after a little while, but I've been in them for 6 hours.
Wow.
on the beach with the tide coming in. But hence you need to be able to climb rocks to escape the tide, which I can do.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, I think I just wasn't used to that kind of climbing. A little bit more training needed if I ever do anything like
You
that
do
again.
need training. Everybody should be able to climb to escape difficult situations.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm going to take your note, and that'll be one of my next adventures then to do a training course in it, just in case that ever happens again. So, Mike, if you could invite four people to dinner, either into your lorry or maybe al fresco, sitting outside, because Porthmadog is a lovely part of of Wales, living or dead, who would you choose to maybe explore the question about,
Well,
living?
I only have one tin plate, so I can't do dinner parties.
Bring your own crockery and cutlery.
And the reason for a tin plate, I've had it for 30 years when I was driving around in the wagon, and the crockery plates just got broken as you forget them and leave them on the table, and it's all over the floor when you get back in. I do have 4 mugs, again, tin mugs, so I can accommodate 4 people for coffee, which I do quite often, if I sit in the alcove bedroom. So the living room will take 4 people, that's how big it is, and there's a little bedroom at the side, which I'm told by posh people is called an alcove bedroom.
Oh, okay.
I must admit, I was mainly thinking about the complexity of having a dinner party. I didn't particularly go into who would I invite. Um, yeah, you got me on that one. I was so fascinated by the idea of a dinner party that I lost I lost the plot of the who I would invite.
I suppose it could be one of those, quite often if I get together with some friends, somebody will host it, but then we all bring, our own food or our own drinks or whatever it might be. So there's less pressure on you having to do anything,
Well,
should
a
we
lot of
say.
people come round to the lorry to speak to me, having read the book. Sometimes people I don't know, and we do have quite complex conversations with real people. Can't think anybody dead I'd want to invite. That would be
No.
nice. And alive, yeah. Sorry, I didn't really give that much thought. I was too fascinated by the idea of a dinner party.
Maybe that's just an idea that can percolate for one of your
Yeah,
next romantic novels.
that's if
Yeah?
I'm thinking
No?
about it.
Have a think about it. You can always let me know at a later time.
Yeah.
So yeah, you mentioned you write every day and you keep detailed notes but you express emotions through your fictional characters rather than directly. And because I come from a journaling perspective with a lot of writing and, what journaling is all about thoughts, feelings and emotions, I'm wondering whether your novels could actually be a form of journaling, but just maybe with using different names for the feelings.
Well, I don't have any secrets from my readers because I've never done anything that's going to end me up in jail, nothing that's immoral. So I just tell the story as it is. So I don't need to put them into works of fiction.
Mm.
My friends, that's how I look at it. Where other people are involved who I can't actually tell their bit of the story, then sometimes I will put them situations into a fictional situation because then I'm free to go with thoughts that they might be having, which are very difficult to write if you're in the first person. It
Mm.
looks very clumsy. In fact, the last book I did, I think it's about 4 cases where I actually put the other people's thoughts in. Normally you have to put them into speech, which is not always that realistic. And where I do fiction, I do invent characters and I do put other people's thoughts into them. I don't use my own.
Mm.
I'll normally have a couple of people who reflect me, or the people I'd like to be, or a girlfriend that I'd like to meet. But generally speaking, no, the books contain a lot of different people.
Yeah.
Because I deliberately read fiction or some serious books as well that will give me insight into other people's characters.
Mm.
And the worst one I actually read, you've probably heard of it. It's called The Kissing Booth. It's by a 16-year-old teenager.
I've not heard of that, no.
No, it's
I tried to think how that's going to go.
It's an American book. And it's a really hard read. But it's what a 16-year-old girl in America thinks. And that's really what I need. It was ever so embarrassing going into the shop to buy it, because going up to the counter, I mean, it had one of these American kissing things on the front, and so I had to buy a loaf of bread at the same time, just so I didn't walk out the shop with just this book.
I was going to ask you whether there was also a copy of The Mountaineer that you bought at the same time, but it was a loaf of bread.
Well, that was the local supermarket where they all know me. But I just thought, that's just an ideal book.
Yeah.
If a 17-year-old girl. And obviously I picked up her thoughts, and when I'm writing, I would use their language in that book to describe that character. Yeah. I've only read one Mills and Boon. That's the struggle for a man. Most men struggle with it, which is why at the beginning, educated fiction.
Yes. Yeah, I know. I say that my mum that reads that genre, but she would never touch a Mills and Boon either. I remember her reading Jilly Cooper with one of the main ones when I was younger. I say I don't really retain the authors that she reads because it's not my genre. I like crime and thriller and psychological thrillers. I think what you said there is quite similar to a lot of writers. You know, you have to read a lot in order to write and get that flow, and you pick up ideas from other characters, other storylines, thoughts and feelings, and things that you're not necessarily naturally going to come across a situation or, a conversation or feelings, for example. And that inspiration is drawn from elsewhere.
Well, I do have one great advantage in this particular case, because I was a delicate child. When I was classed as a delicate child, when they put me into the main school, they put me in with the girls. So I was surrounded at the age of 14, 15 with 15 girls around me as the only boy. And as you probably know, one girl on her own is quite shy and harmless. But when there's 15 girls and one boy, you get learn an awful lot because they can up on you, and the head girl does the lead, and really embarrassing. But it's very good for writing.
Yes, I can imagine.
I've got the insight. This would obviously be 1960s, 1970s. I don't know what it's quite like now. But I actually managed to get a full story out of that, because some of the instances in the classroom give me an insight. And I did write a story about a girls' orphanage who eventually invaded a boys' orphanage, and all the hassle that went with that. So I've managed to keep it fairly general. And that book is called The Ice Cream Terrorist. And the name being that this head girl is so fearsome, and she'll only be pacified by giving her ice creams.
Brilliant. So give a quick synopsis of your other books, Mike, whet people's appetite a little bit.
They're slightly similar. The first book, Nork from Nowhere, that's about a boy on the run from boarding school who meets up with a girl who's on the run from parents after a all-night party went wrong. But what happened there was quite interesting, because I realised it worked better if I just dropped the first chapter when I introduced the boy and took it directly from the girl's point of view when she's finding this boy on the run. So we don't know the boy's backstory in the orphanage. We know it mainly from the lady's point of view, or girl's point of view. And then they go on the run together, and then we get the horrible people coming in, the various misogynists, and it gets more and more complicated as the time goes on, as new characters come. The Ice Cream Terrorist I've told you about, that's an original book. Some people like it. A couple find it a bit difficult. Quite a long book, 165,000 words. But those who like it, really like it. And then there's the Newspaper Curtains. That's slightly more conventional. Young girl, age 8 or 9 when she starts. Horrible father, alcoholic, that sort of thing. Mother dies, father runs off, but she's not decides not to tell anybody, and she tries to make it on her own in the house and fights how she needs to fight, and then tries to work up the scale with all the challenges that involves. And it takes about the age of 30 when she's established. Well, no, we shouldn't put the ultimate aim in there. But yeah, it's slightly different to what a lady would write, because I deal with the more men characters a lot more deeply and a bit more realistically. And I don't really talk about makeup or clothes. I certainly don't spend 2 pages talking about a kiss.
Yeah.
And I have actually that book with a teenage story about the kissing booth. She did actually spend 2 pages describing a single kiss.
Wow. Crikey.
Don't know how she managed to do it, but
No, I suppose it's what people want it
she's
from.
now on the 5th book in the series.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, crikey, in the series.
Best-selling writer.
Good
So you
grief.
can't ignore it.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, gritty, I suppose, is quite a good term to refer to your novels then. Yeah, so it's not just typical romance then, really, is it? If you're calling them
30%
gritty.
try to make them funny.
Mm.
And there's one section in Newspaper Curtains where I told the initial story that I wanted to, and I was only at about 50,000 words, which is not for a book. So I wanted to put another story in and to change the plot. And this, even though it sounds daft, I'm told it works really well. I actually moved into a nature reserve opposite the hotel where the first bit of the story was taken. And I had a hare, hopping along and seeing this other woman coming along and sitting on the bench. And then from the hare's perspective, I was describing everything. Then it went into the position of the lady sitting on the bench, what she was thinking and why she was on her own sitting on a bench. And she was a trainee nurse who had just lost a job because of various doctors who wanted things that she didn't want to give them. And she got into the hotel and that moved the story on. These things just flow bit by bit. Yeah, wrong by hair thing.
Yeah, it's a different perspective. Well, it's a perspective from a different point of view, which is interesting. Yeah, intrigue.
I tell a little bit of a scene from the story of Jackdaw and a lady pushing a baby in a pram. The jackdaw thinks it's a nest on wheels,
Right.
and that has got positive comments on as well.
Yeah, interesting. Have you ever written poetry, Mike?
No.
No, it's just you just reminded me when you were talking about that, because there's I did a master's not long ago, and there was quite a lot of poetry involved there. I don't write poetry. I'm not a huge fan of poetry either, but it was interesting to see how much poetry is written from a perspective of a creature or an object or a tree or something that's not human or more than human, as you could call it.
Actually, I did write one poem, and I'm really quite proud of this, because I put it in the book with a character speaking the poem. And when the book publishers got back to me with all their notes, they said, "Is this clear copyright?" They didn't realise I'd written the poem.
Really? They thought you'd taken it from elsewhere?
Yes. So it was always quite good. And the poem begins, if I can remember it, "I am a mermaid and half of me belongs quite firmly in the sea. Then again, on the other hand, the rest of me belongs on land. Some even say I'm a little odd, quite an insult from a cod." That's the copy from memory. I haven't looked at it for 2 years. Yeah. But
Yeah.
well, good enough for him to think that he was probably a Lewis Carroll or something.
Taken from elsewhere, yes.
Yeah.
But it's very visual as well. As you were talking there, I could see everything. I could see the mermaid. I could see, the bottom half in the water and the other half, basking on the land, shall we say, and then the cod from beneath.
The story of the girl who was the young girl who was being abused, was on the run, who was entertaining children from the top of a garden wall. So yeah, it was all okay. And then there's my biographies that I have done. They have been split into 2 because I don't think stage 1, stage 2 biographies are very good. So one biography deals entirely with my domestic situation, about living in the lorry, a little bit of climbing where romance is involved, included, being homeless, all that stuff, up to the age of 68.
Mhm.
And the second one, that's called Yeti Seeks Mate. And the reason why I've got the title Yeti Seeks Mate, because I put a lot of personal advertisements in to try and find myself a girlfriend. And the Climbing magazine, I'm going national on this, the Climbing magazine wouldn't let me put the advert in because they said it was against the Sex Discrimination Act. So
Oh.
I got different adverts like Yeti Seeks Mate, that was fairly obvious. And another one I included, would suit Eskimo wishing to broaden her horizons, with the her in there. Eskimo is an offensive term now, by the way.
Really?
Yeah. It's Inuit. Inuit, I think. Yeah, Inuit.
Crikey, yeah, you
So
learn something every day, don't
yeah,
you?
that's where that title comes from. And yes, I met a few people, but it was really hard to get a girlfriend when
Mm.
he was into mountaineering. I don't know why, because I was really good at building igloos, and I could dig snow holes on Ben Nevis, and I could take them potholing, and you know, I didn't expect hard rock climbing until the third date, really. So I wasn't actually pushing it. And one lady, I took her to the pictures, and after the show was on, I don't remember what it was, I took her to show her a climb I'd done up the back of the wall. I thought,
Wow.
oh, I was quite impressed the way I was climbing this. She had to fall around the fire escape. And when I looked down, she'd gone,
Oh,
just left me. And she'd had the card as well.
oh, crikey.
All the buses had gone for the night. A long walk home, about 10 miles.
Oh, good grief, Mike. Crikey. So all of this is in the book.
That's in the cookery book, yeah. It's things like that.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, it's really kind of intriguing stories because you're speaking honestly and from the heart and from experience,
Well,
and you can always tell that, I think.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've never done the Himalayas. I'm not the epics. I don't do the Chris Bonnet and stuff. I just about survive sometime. People who read the book wonder how I'm alive or why I'm alive. And, well, if it wasn't, I wouldn't be here, so
No.
it wouldn't be taking place.
So what do you think makes you want to push some of those boundaries? Because some of them are quite extreme. Yeah, you like table
Um,
tennis and chess as well, don't you? Which is a little bit more
Mostly,
chilled.
um, when I'm lovesick and rejected by a female, that pushes me into all sorts of things. Oh, I need to go and climb the Alps. I don't worry if I die or not. That sort of thing. The only difference was when I was 40 and I was fairly settled, bit of a midlife crisis. So I just got in a lorry and drove to Africa
Mm.
because I was 40. Didn't want everything to be comfortable. And that did actually change my life. Because for the age of 40, I had sort of salvaged my houseboat a little bit. But the lorry was just for coming to Wales. And because I was living in a lorry in Africa, when I came back, I just stayed on living in a lorry. And I've
Yeah.
lived in the lorry for 32 years now. Yeah, 50, 60, yeah, 32
Yeah.
years.
So 40
Same
was
lorry.
when you got the lorry, and it's the same lorry now. I mean, it's
I bought the
stationary
lorry
now,
when I
isn't
was
it? But it's the same
the,
one.
just coming, the box on the back is the same. But I've had to replace the lorry's chassis itself and transfer the back onto the new lorry.
Mm.
And when I was sort of 58, 59, I thought, well, time's come to get another lorry. I won't want to do it after the lorry just suddenly broke down, and it just seemed easier to leave it broken down.
Mm.
So it hasn't moved now for 15 years. It's just
Yeah.
a house, basically.
Yeah, your journey, your housing journey is quite extraordinary. You mentioned there about salvaging from your boat, which I think you called it cannibalizing it, don't you, for a
Well,
period of time?
the best thing that happened to me, because when the boat went down, everything that I owned was on the boat. So I had
Uh,
virtually nothing. At the same time, I had a little business deal that went wrong. So I was in debt for about 7,000. And while that was going on, there was a big dispute at the company where I worked over equal pay for ladies. Now, we're not talking about the modern stuff where a lady does one job, man does another, are they matched? It was quite openly that there was just paying the girls in the company pocket money, until they got married, got a girlfriend, so like 70p an hour for an advanced clerk. And I got really annoyed with this because I know the men was getting 4 or 5 times the wages for doing a less skillful job. And the millionaire owners, they obviously wanted the cheap labour. So I lost my job because of that. Again, best thing happened to me because it all came together. I had nothing. That was the start of my homeless phase. Lasted for 3 years. But it gives you a nice detective life. And then when you rebuild your life, you can rebuild as you want to.
Yeah, they do say, don't they, when you've lost everything and you've got nothing there, that you just live for the day and you make life. Well,
I think everybody should have a homeless phase to get
mm,
the basics right. I don't think necessarily it needs to last for 3 years. 6 months is probably better. And you need to get it over and done with when you are 40.
mm,
I wouldn't want to be homeless now.
mm,
I
yeah,
like my comforts, I like my fireside. Well, obviously, when you're homeless, you have a fire. That's the only way to keep warm anyway.
mm,
But it's much more organised now. There's a couple of good building companies locally. I know any timber they got, they just dump it outside the wagon. They just
oh, good,
cut it up with a handsaw, so I don't have any heating bills.
yeah. Yeah. So what's your? I was unsure actually, Mike, as to I'd seen somewhere that you were living on £15 a week or £42 a week, and you're what's kind of your what's your weekly rent? And even though some people might call that poverty, what's kind of secret to
Well, I don't
happiness for so little?
rent, obviously, because I'm just parked up on
Mm,
the wasteland. The £15 a week covers all my groceries and food and washing up liquid, all the things you need in life. The secret there is to basically go down the supermarket an hour before the close, and there's an Aldi just down the road from me, and they've nearly always got fresh food at 75% off.
yeah.
You can normally pick up a loaf for 20p, and it's perfectly good food.
Mm.
Um, so that's got everything I want in there. I also forage a little bit of food as well. Seaweed burgers are particularly nice.
Ah.
What else do I like? You can make nice food with stinging nettles, believe it or not. You've got to boil them first.
I was going to say there's going to be a way to
Yeah.
cook these ingredients, isn't there?
But they're very, very nutritious. And the food that's available most of the year is actually dandelion leaves, and they are more nutritious than lettuce. But I've got to say,
Really?
with this, yeah, oh yeah, lovely, lovely. But I've got to say, if they've got 75% discount on the salad at Aldi, you can buy a nice big bowl of salad with a cucumber, normally for about 25p. It's not necessarily a money thing.
Yeah,
But
it's just it's knowing where to go, isn't it? I go to Lidl quite a bit, and I always like those. They have the fruit boxes for £1.50 where you've got fruit. Sorry, the food boxes where you've got fruit and veg, and there's all sorts in there, and that can last a couple of weeks because there's nothing wrong with it half the time.
I confess, and this is a bit secret, people who know me will actually, I've told the story to a little bit. This is the first time I've actually put it out on a podcast. Is, let's say, a Lidl somewhere in the world. Because they know I live in a lorry and only ever wear old clothes, they got this idea as a shoplifter, and they used to follow me around, and they'd want to look in my rucksack, and so I just stopped
Really?
going there. That was horrible to me.
Yeah.
Even with queues of people on the checkout. The dispute actually started because of these self-service checkouts they put in.
Mm,
I absolutely refuse to see checkout staff being made redundant.
mm,
And I went, I just wanted a bottle of milk. That was at Lidl. And I went to the main checkout to speak to the lady, and she refused to serve me. She said, you'd have to go for the self-checkout. It's only one item, you go to the self-checkout. I said, no, I'd rather speak to you because you're a nice person. And she got really, really cross. And this argument went on for ages, and the queue was building up, and everything got really heated. In the end, she had to serve me the milk because I refused to move, basically.
Yeah.
And after that, it got worse. Yeah, there's a couple of them ganged up on me to check me out and kick me off. But my argument is, if it was a shoplifter, the last thing I'd want to do is go to a till.
And I don't know if you find this, but so positive people get together, but the negative people get together as well. So they're all there together.
If they like you, they like you. And if they don't like you, they shouldn't be quiet, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, they shouldn't be in customer service. So coming on to what you just said about, the other store and how everybody knows you, and it's, hi, Mike, how are you doing? If I could ask you that you've lived in your own little bubble for years. You went to Africa, you lived in the houseboat and now the lorry. But then you were featured on YouTube and the video went viral. So I think when I last looked, there was 902,000 views.
Well,
what do you think about being a celebrity at 72, a somewhat celebrity at 72?
I don't understand YouTube or Facebook. My agent, Ian, he deals with all that side, and he'll tell me if there's anything relevant. But generally speaking, I just get on with life. It doesn't affect me. I like going to the interviews like this, and the television people come around sometimes. But it doesn't really invade in my life too much. I just get on with it.
Yeah.
It's nice when you walk down the street locally and people say, I like the book or whatever. And there's quite a few who I don't know who bought all 5 books. And that's really, really good. But it doesn't really change my life. It's still me in the lorry.
Yeah.
Ian does all the Facebook stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. You haven't got to the point yet where people are trying to stop you in the street and grab a photograph and.
Oh yeah, that happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
Within a radius of about 15 miles away, my lorry is. When I get into distant places, it's less frequent. I think a lot of that internet stuff must be international. I don't, because we're in a very Welsh-speaking area where I live, and that's a different culture to what I do. So doesn't worry me at all, really.
Yeah. No, just take each day as it comes.
I still go on to the mountains, potholing, living as I am. I've got no plans to live in any other way.
Yeah. What's the typical day look like for you, man?
Another TV plate there, just in case somebody comes round.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, and then you can maybe answer that question a little bit later.
That's a modification I do, because if I do get visitors, I have to sort of sandwich all the biscuits on a piece of wood or something. I don't do that things.
All part of the authenticity.
Yeah, people are very impressed. I've got about 4 or 5 people who, when they get stressed with life, they just want to come round to my lorry, sit in the armchair by a fire, candlelight if it's at night, maybe have a cup of coffee. Yeah. Life's often pressurised if you've got houses and things.
Yeah.
What most people pick me up on is the electric. And because I've never had electric, I don't really understand the question. I think it's horrible stuff in a domestic setting. What can be nicer than a fire, candles, and I've got no idea what you need electric for.
Yeah.
And that's what people find. Play Monopoly and chess. You can't actually play Monopoly by candlelight.
You can't? Why?
No, because because candles are yellow, you can't pick up the nomination of the money. When you're playing. So play chess then, or Scrabble, that's fine.
Yeah. Keep the Monopoly until it's daylight.
Yeah, that's it. You can work around it. It goes with the seasons as well.
Yeah, I quite often when I'm sharing journaling techniques, and I try and say to people, creating your ritual that works for you. And when people journal, having candlelight is one of the things that is a nice way of creating that space. Candlelight, roaring fire, a nice comfy blanket, hot drink, something like that.
Oh yeah.
So, and I think it does create that different atmosphere, those different almost vibes for when you're writing something. Do you find that? Let me rephrase that. Where do you do most of your writing? Do you choose to write in that setting, or does it just happen anywhere where
Well,
inspiration takes you?
I'll answer that question technically. I tend to think of the narrative when I'm in bed, just lying down, going over it and over it, and making up the story, seeing where it's going to go, or just remembering what happened and recording the facts. And then the following day, I will get up and write that section.
Mike, you mentioned there about candlelight.
Yeah.
And one of the things, with journaling is that I try and explain to people, or encourage them, should I say, to create their own little ritual when they're writing or when they're journaling. And candlelight quite often is one of those elements that just, helps to create the right atmosphere. So would you say that that's, having that atmosphere is something that you create when you write, or is it just when the inspiration?
Well, I don't really know anything else, you see, so I've tried paraffin lamps and gas lamps, and they're just too complicated. And the other thing is with candles, is because I had a reputation for living in poverty, everybody felt sorry for me. I got loads of clothes parcels dumped outside. Sometimes I got food parcels dumped outside. And I've had about 6 people give me boxes of candles. So I've actually got 3 years supply of candles in the wagon.
3 years?
Yeah. So I don't worry about power cuts. Obviously now I'm not known probably as being in poverty. So,
Yeah,
but I don't need to buy any clothes because I've got, I don't know, 10 years supply of clothes in
wow.
most of the stuff.
Yeah. So you don't have a clothes or a candle problem, but you may have a storage problem.
No, it's actually it's a 7.5 ton lorry. So it's
Mm,
actually large compared to what most these little camper vans are. And it's only me on my own. So there's plenty of storage under the bed. Got a sofa as well with storage underneath. I've got a kitchen that's separate, workshop. So, and there's an office that lets me, a Babby Pern office that lets me store my books there.
mm,
Yeah. So,
yeah,
yeah, it's all very good. And
brilliant.
the other thing that's more horrible than electric is telephones. I know, you just see people there all the time, they're buzzing off and they're not
Mm,
talking to each other. People want to see me, they just knock the door or write me a letter or
yeah.
something.
So I'm guessing you
Don't,
don't have a mobile phone, Mike.
oh, awful things, awful things. No, no.
That's not a bad thing. I totally agree with you there. You walk down the street and everybody's glued to this electronic device in their hand, and they're not talking to each other. And yeah, it's a shame when you see people, particularly families or youngsters, when they're together and yeah, they're not having that conversation with each other. They are just glued to this
Well,
device.
last year I took a man climbing his first climb, just wanted to try it. And he was halfway up the rock face, and his girlfriend phoned him to jilt him. And he just couldn't put the telephone down. It took us ages to get up. And
Crikey.
this rock climb took us to the top of Snowdon. And all the time, it was quite a nice day as well. He was just going on and on about his girlfriend.
Got himself in a bit of a pickle. I would say. Yeah, you've kind of embedded yourself a little bit in the community. You've become the local celebrity, if you like. People at first wanted to help you out with the food and with the clothes and things. So is there quite a community focus around you, or do you approach?
I'm
Hmm.
that be quite a good guy.
Hmm.
And, keep the place tidy and I make a contribution to the council in lieu of council tax. This is where the figure of £42 comes in.
Right.
But it's voluntary. And everything between the 15 and 42 is voluntary, basically.
Mm.
So I'm now going to the snooker hall, and that costs me 50p an hour. That's the only hobby that costs me any money. That's the little local village hall. We've got one snooker table. And
It's a very cheap hobby still in this day and age.
well, yeah, probably play. I'm in a couple of clubs, so I'll probably pay 4 or 5 hours a week. That's voluntary expenditure.
Mm.
And I charge it at Abbey Fair mostly at the moment for the summer. And in the winter, I tend to just go down the library and write. And a fully charged laptop on word processor mode, and I only use it on word processor mode. It's not connected to anything. Lasts about 10 hours. So it's fine.
Yeah.
And then when the work I'm writing is completed, I just put a little stick in the back and I give it to Ian, and he does all sorts of things with it that it goes on to.
All of the editing and everything.
Well,
Yeah.
down
Yeah.
to lines and stuff.
Yeah. Do you tend to write in long sprints, Mike, or do you just write a little bit here and a little bit there? You mentioned before about, you tend to do a lot of the thinking and the storylines and the plots come to you at night and then you write in the morning. Do you just keep going, and once you find that you've got that thread, does it keep flowing, or what's your routine?
For the first 3 years, it was fairly continuous. Get up, do some writing, often for many hours. This year, for the first time, I got a social life back. I do a lot of climbing, awful lot of potholing, mountaineering. That's just generally walking over rough ground and mountains as opposed to climbing up things. Still play table tennis. So yes, I've got a life as well now.
Yeah.
So sometimes it goes. I'll do days when I'm just doing writing. If the weather's nice, I'll do days when I'm going out. So I'm probably working on about one book a year now, whereas you've a year out.
And do you still draw inspiration from your adventures? Your now that the social life is bigger, you're having more adventures. Are you finding that you're having more ideas?
I've actually done more climbing this year than, well, since a long time, because I've got a bus pass. So it's all free now. I can just jump on. And you can also charge your torches when you're on a bus now. Plug them into things. So my potholing's free because I bought some rechargeable torches. So that's all the freebie side of things. And
So do you find that you have more ideas?
there's more things happening in my life than I can write about at the moment. Is the answer to that one.
Yeah. How do you pick and choose what to write about? And is it something where you get an idea and it hangs you for a while and you think, yes, there's a story here, I need to get this out?
Sometimes I have to write it down there and then. I was in a beautiful situation last year when we got trapped in a flooded pothole. Water up to the roof. It was a wonderful experience.
I like how you call that beautiful and wonderful, where it would scare the bejesus out of a lot of people.
No, fine. Because the person I was with was a young lady, and she was only really used to grade 2 potholing, which is fairly moderate. And to get out, we had to do some quite big abseils and quite a bit of climbing and traversing and bouncing cross beams. And she thought it was wonderful when she got out.
Yes.
Yeah. So that will be probably 3 pages in a book sooner or later.
Yeah, only 3.
You've got to be very careful with potholing. It's a very selective audience. You would lose a lot of people if you went more than 3 pages.
Right.
But that actually happened after we'd been doing filming down there. She was coming down as a camera person because nobody else would want to come down with me. They said it was all too daft. So she did the filming, and the escape tunnel I was going to use was the flooded one. Then we had to do a really difficult move to get out. But it all worked well in the end.
Yeah, exhilarating. What keeps you going, I suppose?
Yeah. So just to say, when people are reading books, even though I've talked about potholing quite a bit, it's not excessive. I know when to draw the line.
I think just to get the gist of it for people when you're referencing a hobby like that, if somebody isn't, if they're not into it the same, then you can't go into too much detail
You
because,
got
as you say, you might lose them. Yeah.
It's more about personal relationships that's happening in a pothole. In my Yeti Seeks Mate book, there's a love story set down a pothole. And it's the love story that's important. The other actual technical potholing is the just the backdrop for it.
Yeah, the subplot almost, how you got from one place to another or how they met.
Yeah, there's one really good section in there where I had to climb through, well, with a lady who's only just started potholing. It was about 18 inches high, the passageway, and the bottom foot of it was filled with water, a river. So you had to sort of float on your back with your doggy paddling through with your mouth against the roof.
Crikey. I can feel my stomach going as you're explaining that. I'm not good with enclosed spaces.
That was one of the ladies I fell in love with.
You certainly do lead an interesting life, and you mentioned your publicist, Ian. We can include him in the show notes, but he mentions that you're a bit like a Walter Mitty, living the stories and things that you have. Do you think that all writers need a little bit of that fantasy to create authenticity?
Well, ultimately, writing is just about having a fantasy, but you then have to go back and rewrite it and edit it probably 50 times so it makes sense to people. Because things that you think are sensible, and yet having fantasy for other people's as well, then you've got to join them all together, how they interact, what's done in thoughts, what's done in speech.
Yeah, making sure that the plausibility aspect is there.
Yeah. Autobiography is hard in one respect that you're confined by facts and dates and orders of things. And I am always very truthful in the autobiographies. But obviously you've got the true life situation that if you have somebody's that knows someone's actually hanging off a rock face, it's better in autobiography. And if you're in fiction, then it becomes easier. You can just, if a house needs to be somewhere, you just put a house.
Yes. Yes, you can put those extra details, the things that will help people out in strategic places in the fiction side of things. Yeah, and I think there's almost a genre or merging of genres of autofiction in a sense, isn't there? Where there's part of your experience, and then that's mashed a little bit with the completely fictional, but somehow it's still plausible and meaningful in a way.
Yeah, I've got one incident that I didn't really want to write about as in the autobiography because it looked a bit wrong. So I have actually fictionalized that in one of the books. And that's wanting to jump off Worcester Road Bridge.
Right.
After unhappy love situation. And you get over it in the years.
Yes, it got erased.
Yeah. So I think that's about the only time I've ever not put something in the book. Because it messed things up, basically.
Yeah, but that little snippet is there for life, isn't it? And if you think that can be used in another book somewhere down the line, then it's there for you to put in where it does make more sense, without it being too obvious that it doesn't flow with what's around it. Yeah, fascinating.
But that's just called truth by admission.
Yeah. Yes. Indeed.
There's so many extremes that it just becomes a false book. But just to be, it's fine.
Yeah, and I think sometimes as well, you mentioned the lady that that turns out a book every 6 months, and I think every 6 months to 12 years is perhaps the norm for some people. But I've heard some authors say that they do a book in a month, and for me, I don't understand how there can be the depth in a book like that. It's got to be very surface level, and surely there's elements that are repeated a lot. There has to be, because there's just not the time. Either that or it's not written by the person.
Yeah. Well, the first writing is just a list of facts, basically. And then you've got to put the personality onto it. Then you've got to develop. And bit by bit, it comes into a book that's hopefully constantly interesting. But it doesn't
Yeah. Well, you've certainly been very intriguing in the description of your books and your process and the way that you live and how you
Well, I hope
approach
so.
things.
Yeah. The only thing I probably would say then to help people who in a difficult situation maybe is I bought and lived in a 7.5 ton lorry. Too big. You don't need it. The bureaucracy now in relating to them, if you want to keep them on a public road, is awful. Go and live in a 3.5 ton truck. It's big enough for one person. You can basically just a general MOT. You can drive down all the license. You pick one up for a couple of thousand. They're a problem.
Mhm.
Just put it, don't register to the camper van. Just build a stove and a shower in there. Make sure you go for a high roof. And then you either find a bit of wasteland and you just live for free, or you drive it round. And another good tip is to find an employer who will let you park on their car park,
Mm.
because then they've got somebody on call 24 hours a day, which is great benefit to them. You have access to water, toilet, and a bit of income. And generally speaking, if you did 8 hours on minimum national wage, you'd soon have loads of money in the bank.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of
Yeah.
employment. Yeah. Well, you know what the pension's like at the moment. It's like unbelievable. I don't quite know how people can spend that much money. I know that's
Mm.
okay, but even with my snooker, I'm only spending £30 a week. And I'm having a really good lifestyle on that as well. Whereas, I never go in pubs, don't smoke, don't drink.
I mean, you could still go into a pub and have a water, really, couldn't you? I think people do quite often live beyond their means, or if the income is there, then they have a habit of spending up to the income. Whereas if they, go right back to just the bare essentials that they need, and from what you've just been describing there about the choice of lorry and things to think about, you could write a book, Mike, about how to set up living off the grid, couldn't you?
That is pretty much covered in Yeti Seeks Mate.
Ah,
When I'm
okay.
writing it, when I come to the final chapters, I thought, how can I point people in these directions? So,
Mm,
yep, How to Live on a Lorry, Yeti Seeks Mate's the book.
it's there.
And if you want to know about how to do mountains in a way that's interesting, if you want to know, a man wants to know how to get a girlfriend, you don't want to read one of my books. It just doesn't.
Stick with the adventures and the home setup, and then that's the
I,
right advice.
I managed to get how the true romance has actually worked in real life. But
Brilliant.
it's been fun anyway.
Yeah, no,
And
definitely. I mean, you're hoping to keep up this lifestyle for another decade, aren't you? So, what's next for you, Mike, for the rest of this year and beyond? And how can people connect with you?
well, more of the same basically. I would say I lead a perfect life. So I don't want to change it, just more of the same. Turn out a book a year because I quite like going to book festivals. Buy the second tin plate, which we've already mentioned. So I can offer somebody a plate of biscuits when they come round. I'm just totally happy as long as I remain fit and healthy. How to contact Jim's my agent who does all the stuff. Got a website. It's a lot of W's. www.mikeleverforza.co.uk, and that's got all my details on. And there's a Facebook. I don't want my laptop connected to anything because of the viruses, so I'm fairly clear there. And I hear there's some nasty things going on the internet, which I don't want to get involved with. So if anybody says horrible things about me, I'm not aware of them, so I don't care.
Yeah.
And I've never had anyone treat me badly. I've never had any problems.
Mm. Yeah, technology is great in some ways, but it's a nightmare in other ways. So I'll include all of those details in the show notes, so that people can find out how to purchase the books, connect with you, send you a letter or message on Facebook, which Ian can liaise with that.
But he does all that, yeah.
Yes, he does a good job, doesn't he?
Well, it doesn't just act for me, he acts for a lot of authors. So it's all, now he's successful agent in his own right.
Yeah, does. He knows his stuff.
I have a final say to the office next door to me, or I'm parked next to a big warehouse, and they let me take all their water. Well, let me get the water from the staff canteen. They said, let me store a few books. Let me charge my laptop. It's all quite good. And on occasions like this, they let me into their big posh office to do Zoom. Yep. And the name of the company. So, thanks to my neighbours, Abby Pier, they're an online family store selling organic, natural, and fair trade products. That's my little return for letting
That's
you.
perfect. Nice little plug for them as a thank you for the water and the electricity and the plush office.
Yeah, you need somebody like that, really. If you're on the road and you're travelling through, you can normally fill up with water at a garage, but you can't do that all the time. Yeah, same time. I did go through a phase where I put a wooden timber surround around all the my roof, and I took all the rainwater, and there's enough waterfalls on my roof to keep me going. But it's easier just to get it from a tap.
Yeah.
You've got to purify it and things.
Yes, you don't have to worry about what's fallen in the tank at the same time.
No, and there's a lot of seagulls in my area. If you don't like seagulls, you don't want to have great big squabbles over my roof. They don't nest there because it's just a little bit low. So.
Yeah, but you can hear them when they land and when they squabble.
Yeah.
I enjoy a spot of the wildlife as well. It's I like nothing more than sitting there and just watching.
Yeah, had a grass snake slither by the other day outside my door.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mike, for sharing your story and spending time with me this morning. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on.
Yeah, it's been nice talking to you. I'll borrow somebody's telephone to look at the podcast. He comes to it.
No, you're more than welcome. We can have a listen to it.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah. Nice
Perfect.
to say. Best of luck. Order.
Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation. If you'd like to continue your journaling journey with me, I hold in-person journaling circles across Staffordshire and Cheshire and a range of online workshops throughout the year. You're also warmly invited to join the Journaling Nook, my online monthly membership for £25. This includes 2 live journaling circles per month, weekly writing prompts and a monthly guest workshop. Visit writingwithpurpose.co.uk for details on all of these, including a free PDF journal planner download. All the details are also in the show notes. Thank you for listening to today's Writing with Purpose podcast. Having conversations with fellow writers or adventure enthusiasts brings 2 of my biggest loves in life together, writing and nature connection. I've been a copywriter and content creator for 23 years, but my passion is writing for well-being, and I'm on a mission to share the benefits that putting pen to paper has for personal wellness with as many people as possible. If you want to learn more about writing for your well-being and journaling techniques, please connect with me in my Facebook group, Journaling with Anna.